Most formulas in the tonify the chi category are formulas that tonify the lung and spleen chi specifically. Chi tonics often contain ingredients that are invigorating in order to help the digestion, in the sense that chi tonics can be building and therefore somewhat stagnating and sticky. They can actually cause digestive stagnation. They're often modified by or often include ingredients that again invigorate the chi, regulate the chi, benefit the digestion by moving stagnant chi and specifically dampness that might be accumulating, either because of the pathology itself or also because of the preponderance of these kind of rich, cloying substances that are tonifying. The first and most fundamental formula in the Tonify Chi category is that of Su Jun Sitang, or Four Gentlemen. This is a formula that tonifies the chi and strengthens the spleen. It's really the classic formula for spleen chi deficiency. It is a Imperial Academy formula, an Imperial Academy combination. And we've looked at this formula before. We were first introduced to it in the category of resolve cold phlegm. It's much more appropriate to look at it in this category, that of tonify the chi, because if you'll recall, we began a process of comparison where we looked at Su Jun Sitang, Le Jun Sitang, Shang Sha Le Jun Sitang, Erchen Tong in the phlegm category, and eventually Pingwei San in the damp category. So what I would do is take a look at those formulas again. Su Jun Sitang, which is 4 gentlemen. Le Jun Sitang, which is 6 gentlemen. Shang Sha Le Jun Sitang, which is 6 gentlemen with Shang Mushang and Sha Ren. Pingwei San in drain damp, and Erchen Tong, 2 cured decoction. If we look at those along a spectrum, the spectrum is that of most tonifying to most invigorating, most tonifying to spleen chi to most resolving of phlegm and damp. So that makes for, again, a very, very good comparison. The English for Pingwei San is calm the stomach powder, I believe. Here we see the ingredients of Su Jun Sitang, and once again, Su Jun Sitang gives us the pattern confirmation in TCM for spleen and lung qi deficiency, or what in channel theory or applied channel theory would be called tie-in insufficiency. And you can see that the preponderance of ingredients in this formula are tonifying. Renshen, Fuling, and Zhigansao are quite tonifying. Baizhu is tonifying as well. Baizhu, of course, drains damp, as does Fuling. So Renshen, Baizhu, and Zhigansao in the category of tonify qi, Fuling in the category of drain damp, but the emphasis of this formula is on the tonifying aspect, not so much on the damp resolving aspect, although it's included in here. But we're going to see again in that spectrum that this is the most tonifying of the formulas that we're comparing. Here we see Yigong San, and Yigong San is essentially a step along the way from Su Jun Sitang to Le Jun Sitang. In this formula, there's no bansha added, which comes in Le Jun Sitang, but it does add or include chen pi, citrus peel. Citrus peel, of course, regulates and descends the qi, is invigorating, and so we see the beginning of the process of invigorating more qi, and therefore treating more distension, more stagnation, more discomfort, more bloating. So again, we're going to look at this progression from Su Jun Sitang to Yigong San, in this case, to Le Jun Sitang, to Shang Sha Le Jun Sitang. And here we are with leaches or sixth gentleman, which includes both the Chen Pi that we saw with Yigong-san and Bansha or Pinellia. So again, we're seeing the progression from a pure, essentially pure tonic formula that drains a little dampness to a formula that's going to regulate the qi and resolve phlegm. It's going to treat more stagnation, again, more dampness, more congestion, more bloating, more abdominal discomfort, more damp and phlegm signs. Again, looking at this progression from pure tonic to really a phlegm resolving formula like Erchin Tong. This is Shangsha Lejinsatang. So this is Sejinsatang with Chen Pi, Bansha, Mushang, and Sha Ren. In other words, this is Lejinsatang with the addition of Mushang and Sha Ren. So Mushang and Sha Ren, as you know, are in the aromatic transform damp quality. So obviously this is the combination that would be best when there's really a lot of middle jiao stagnation from turbid damp, from turbidity and from congestion of dampness in the middle burner. This is a very, very commonly used formula, as is Lejinsatang. So again, being very familiar with Lejinsatang, Sujinsatang, Lejinsatang, Shangsha Lejinsatang, Pingwei-san, and Erchen Tong is going to be very, very useful in terms of treating these spleen deficient on one end of the spectrum, damp stagnation on the other end of the spectrum type digestive complaints that we see so commonly. This formula, Shenling Baiju San, or ginseng, poria, and white atractylotus powder, is an Imperial Academy formula that treats spleen qi deficiency with dampness and diarrhea. This is really the first formula that I think of for chronic diarrhea due to spleen qi deficiency and damp. I use this formula a lot, very, very, very common formula, again, in my daily practice. Very effective and very useful. You can see that this is, again, another Imperial Academy formula, and that it is, in fact, a modification of Sujinsatang in a sense. It has all of the ingredients of Sujinsatang, and added to those ingredients are herbs that essentially astringe dampness or astringe diarrhea, that aromatically transform dampness like Sha Ren, that drain dampness like Yi Ren, and that guide up like Jaegung. So there is a drying quality to this formula, but the focus of the formula, in my mind, is more, again, on astringing to stop the diarrhea, drying and astringing. And this formula is really much more focused on dampness than it is on phlegm. And so as we look again at that progression from Lejinsatang to Erchen Tong, there is such a strong phlegm component in that progression, Erchen Tong being in the resolve cold phlegm category. And this formula, again, I think being more effective when the spleen deficiency is manifest with the chief complaint of loose stools or diarrhea. Naturally, there are going to be all of those spleen qi deficiency signs present as well, but the key symptom is really this damp diarrhea. This means that the diarrhea itself will typically be very watery. It will be accompanied by fatigue. There could be undigested food in the stools. So again, the diagnosis is quite clear here that this is a spleen qi deficiency with dampness causing chronic diarrhea. This is the very famous formula Buzhang Yiqi Tang, or tonify the middle to augment the qi decoction. For the purpose of the audio for the PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to confine my comments to the formula itself, and I'm going to do a short video on the Earth School, because this formula and the Earth School deserve a tremendous amount of attention. So again, I'm going to do a video and discuss Li Dongyuan and the Earth School separately, but for now I'm going to focus on this formula itself. This is his most famous formula. This is the flagship Earth School formula. It tonifies the middle burner, it augments the qi, it raises the clear yang, and it lifts what is sunken. It is used to treat 3 different patterns that may be occurring either independently or simultaneously. The first one is spleen and stomach deficiency with failure of clear yang, leading to obstruction of the sensory orifices by turbidity, and therefore symptoms like unclear thinking, unclear vision, dizziness, tinnitus, etc. The second is a qi deficiency type fever, and this should be distinguished from the type of fever that one sees in a surface condition. Instead, we're going to see a fever that is worse upon exertion and is accompanied by spontaneous sweat and aversion to cold. So this means that this fever is from qi deficiency, but the qi deficiency is not as much related to wei qi, although this is the root of wei qi, but is really coming from the central qi being deficient in the inability to transform and transport, create essentially postnatal qi to stabilize the exterior and protect the body from pathogenic factors or pathogenic influences. So that would make this a very interesting formula to compare to Guizhotong, because in both cases we have a failure essentially of wei qi to protect the body against superficial pathogens or exterior pathogens, but here the pathology is rooted in spleen and stomach qi deficiency in particular. And again, in the function of the middle burner in its production of gu qi, of postnatal qi, supporting wei qi. The third is one of prolapse and sinking, and this has become one of the most common uses of Buzhang Yiqi in contemporary practice. So we think about this formula as not only raising clear yang and perhaps raising wei qi in a sense, but as also treating sinking of middle burner qi with symptoms like prolapse, like diarrhea, so prolapse of rectum, prolapse of organs like the uterus, prolapse, vaginal prolapse, even bleeding due to failure of the spleen in its holding and raising function. This has become, again, a very, very important use of this formula. So we see these signature Shanghan Lun herbs, and this formula embodies the use of Huang Qi, which was central, not to use a pun, to Li Dongyuan's formula. So Huang Qi is going to stabilize the exterior. Dr. Huang says it puffs up the exterior. It's going to raise. It's going to raise clear yang. It's going to essentially raise qi. But it's really mostly a stabilized exterior, upward guiding herb in this formula. Then it has Renshen Baizhu Gansao to tonify qi, dry some dampness. It has Dangui to tonify blood and qi, Chenpi, which regulates the qi. Of course, notice we see Sejun Satang in this formula, or the influence of the Imperial Academy formulas. And then it has Shengma and Chaihu, both of which raise and vent. So we see Li Dongyuan's use of herbs that guide up We see the concept of yin fire, which I'm going to elaborate on in the video. So the treatment of the idea of yin fire embodied in this formula. And again, in 5 minutes, what I can say is that this is well worthy of really much more focused study and attention. This is a very, very important formula. Bujang Yi Qi Tang.